As I mentioned, risk aversion, poor portfolio flows, that's pretty much the picture that we're seeing right now. Perhaps a very different picture to what we're seeing on the ground, but equity markets are telling us a different story.
Yes, I think over the last month and a half or so, since the debt crisis in Europe has taken the headlines, we have seen a reversal in net foreign flows, and this is what is responsible for the very thin volumes and the weakness that we're seeing in the market. And we think that this will probably continue until the new year, in spite of the excellent results coming out of the companies and the economic outlook on the ground.
Well, this is great news for those that do want to actually get into the Zimbabwean market right now, because I'm sure from a valuation perspective, some companies looking quite attractive. Delta out with their interim results, strong revenue that came through, and talking about earnings guidance for the first time at 30% plus growth that we're seeing from this company.
Yes, that's correct. For the first time, they did come out with some guidance for the 2012 financial year, and they believe that they will report a 30% plus growth in earnings. And if you look at the numbers that they actually did report, the growth is very strong, 41% growth in revenue, 50% growth in EBITDA. And, you know, listening to the management speak at the presentation yesterday gives you the sense that this growth is not only historical, but it's sustainable going forward over the next few years.
Is this a no-brainer then, Rufaro? Would you say that this is definitely a buy?
Certainly, we believe that Delta, as well as the other major blue chips on the ZSE, like Econet and Insco, are looking very cheap at these levels. A lot of the major blue chips are trading at or near the 52-week lows because of what's happening in Europe and with capital flows out of frontier markets. So if one is brave, now is an excellent opportunity to pick up these stocks at bargain basement prices.
Zimplow also out with, of course, they had an AGM not too long ago, and they were talking about very strong performance coming through from the agricultural sector. We could see earnings increasing by around 51%. Give us a little bit more detail with regards to this company and whether the prospects actually remain quite strong going forward.
Yes, well, Zimbabwe is basically a manufacturing business that supplies the agricultural sector with your plows and that sort of thing, and they've enjoyed tremendous growth since we've dollarized, and the outlook for them is also quite positive. It speaks to the very strong growth that we foresee in the agricultural sector as a whole, and we remain quite bullish on Zimplow.
What about the likes of SR? We know that they've got quite an aggressive capex proposition going forward to the tune of around $388 million. We know that policies are changing quite extensively within the steel and iron ore scenario. We know that there have been claims. How is this going to affect SR's performance?
Well, there was some negative news over the last few weeks regarding the deal that they had done and the iron ore claims that they were meant to receive in terms of this deal. And we had a report this week from the Minister of Industry and Commerce that these issues are going to be resolved shortly. I think the ESA deal is very important when you look at Zimbabwe as an investment destination because of the amount involved. ESA believes that they need to spend almost 400 million to recapitalize the steel plant and get it going again. And I think our capacity to do deals of this nature is important to attract investment. So we're quite pleased to see these developments as they resolve these issues.
Rufaro, I remember speaking to the Tongaat Hewlett CEO a couple of years ago and really questioning him about Zimbabwean operations and what they would be doing with those assets. And it's really great news to hear that the Zim operations are contributing 36.5% to the bottom line of Tongaat Hewlett.
Yes, I think for a lot of regional businesses, Zimbabwe's importance has grown significantly since dollarization, and Tongaat's exposure in Zimbabwe through the Triangle sugar estates is very important, and it speaks to the growth in terms of the production that we've seen since dollarization and the outlook going forward, that Zim is such an important market for these big Pan-African businesses.
You mentioned the blue chips, you mentioned Delta falls into that space, Insco and Econet, and great news for these companies and perhaps great news for civil servants. They're going to be receiving bonuses this year, so a stronger retailer out there.
Yes, I think when it was initially announced last year in November that the forecast for growth for 2011 is 9.3%. There were a lot of doubting Thomases out there, and the government's ability to pay bonuses speaks to increased revenue collections, their capacity to actually do so, and the growth in the economy. And obviously, this is excellent news for those in the retail and consumer space.
Let's also touch on the budget to be tabled next week, 2012 budget. What are the latest forecasts with regards to GDP growth? What are you expecting in these numbers next week?
Well, we think that the forecast growth of 9.3% will be achieved. I think the minister will at this juncture confirm that we are in line to achieve this level of growth, and that his forecasts going forward for 2012 and up to 2015 in terms of the economic planning are still very bullish, between 8 and 11%. So I think the picture from an economic perspective remains very bullish.